I'm a vegetarian, okay? I don't eat meat because I believe it is, in my tradition, morally wrong to kill animals solely for culinary pleasure. There are conditions in which it would be fine to do it, but if it's just for my culinary pleasure, I'd rather not do it. I respect other people's right to and freedom to go in a different direction. But take the example of me working at a steakhouse, okay? I would not make for a good employee at a steakhouse, even if I would deliver the ever-prized form of diversity of thought. See, people sometimes are loose in terms about diversity of thought instead of diversity of appearance. Yeah, I'm in favor of diversity of thought over diversity of appearance too. But even diversity of thought is too low resolution. That's a diverse thought. But a steakhouse still shouldn't want to employ me because that's not the kind of diversity of thought you should want if your focus is on delivering excellent steak to a customer, because the kind of diversity you want there should be in service of your purpose.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Real Talk Corner. I am your host, Ariana Quantum Healer, the Quantum Healer, with my co-host, Sabrina Williams, in the building. We're back. I know we took a couple days off, y'all. Don't kill us. You know, it is what it is. But tonight we are going to jump in it. It's that time. It's election time. So, we talk about it. Don't talk about it, be about it, get involved. And so we're definitely going to be covering a lot of the presidential candidates, what they're about, especially if I find and we're watching clips and the arguments and all of that good stuff so that you guys can get to know them more. I am going to cover, we got to do one on, I think her name is Miriam Williamson. And I think she's one of the women. She's not the woman. I don't think she's Republican. Honestly, I got to look because she actually has some really good points. And she was holding herself up in this one show meeting that I saw, and they were just like coming at her, but she was holding her own. And I was like, all right, she holding her own. So she might get my vote. I don't know. We'll see. So I definitely feel like we should cover this because it's important. It's coming up, the 2024 elections. You need to get to know your people that are running for president, you guys. If you don't already, if you have somebody that you're already looking at, drop a comment. I don't want to hear that Trump shit just yet, okay? If you have not done your research, I could see 6 months. If you still love Trump, then good, do whatever. But if you just still voting for Trump because you want to vote for Trump, I would say take a look at some of the other candidates. And we're going to talk about it and show you guys also, just so you could get like a feel. But right now we're going to get into on the Breakfast Club. La, 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 la. Why can't I say that today? Like, what the hell? Breakfast Club. They did an interview with Vivek Ramaswamy is his name. He's an American entrepreneur. He was actually born here in America. And he is a candidate. He's from the Republican Party. He's 37, so he's pretty young. And, most of our presidents are normally way older than 37. I don't mind having a young president because you see Biden, he did his terms as vice president and he got into the presidential and now he done lost his damn mind and got senile and shit.
Basically.
So I don't care about someone being fucking old as shit, old as dirt to run the country. Like, I don't think your age really just says that you're more wise, So I wouldn't mind a younger candidate. And so he was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. I believe he also grew up there. Graduated from Harvard and Yale Law School. He's an entrepreneur. He runs businesses. It's crazy because I didn't even know that who knows? Who really researches the people who create drugs? Because I don't fucking research anyone. So he's actually created some medications that help children, life-saving medications. So, he's done some shit for the world, did he get rich off of it? Yes, but who fucking wouldn't? So we're gonna watch his interview and see how that goes, and we'll comment on it because, like I said before, the clips that I saw on it weren't really weren't really nice, y'all. They weren't really nice. So you have anyone yet that you're looking at that might be your who you're voting for this year or this round? Yeah.
No, not at all.
I haven't really you guys picked somebody just yet. So
And I'm in this race because I want us to run to something.
What is that something?
A vision of what it means to be American. Okay. Revive the ideals of 1776. Revive the truth, meritocracy, excellence, freedom of speech, rule of law. A radical idea. This is not a Democrat or Republican idea that the people we elect to run the government ought to at least be the ones who actually run the government. That's not the case today. You want to talk about fixing the system? You want to talk about one of the myths where we fall short of our ideals? We're taught in school that we have 3 branches of government. They're irrelevant compared to who actually runs the government. It's a 4th branch of government of 3-letter agencies in Washington, D.C. That is a formula for corruption. Corruption we get. That's a system we need to break down.
Who are those 3?
I mean, you could go down the list: SEC, FDA, EPA, TSA. The thousands, the tens of thousands of government bureaucrats working in Washington, D.C., they're the ones who actually make the laws. It's not Congress. And that's a formula. And those people aren't elected. Nobody elected them.
so when people hear the lobbyists, the people who go and they pay these politicians, those are those companies, those big corporate companies that go and pay these politicians to be behind them. And those are the people who are running the country. You're not getting the faces that you see. We see the presidents. They're not the ones running this show. It's all of those big corporations in the background that are throwing money at these people and say, hey, I need you to lobby this. I need you to be behind us. I need you to pass this. Because even when you look at the FDA is constantly approving shit that's bad for us. You're the one company that's supposed to make sure this shit is good for us, healthy for us, that's not going to kill us, that's not going to harm us. And you are constantly fucking approving shit. Tell me, how does it get approved? We got foods that are banned in other countries, but here the FDA approves it.
Exactly.
So I think this is where a lot of people, it's like, even I had to do this, you guys. I had to sit back and I had to educate myself about a lot of this stuff and go, stop pointing at who I think is it and look at who's really behind this. And the reason that these companies are allowed to do what they do, because we keep spending our money at their establishments. We keep making them richer. And so because if you look at these companies, look at who owns the company. Don't just look at the company. Who fucking owns the company? Who has shares of that company? You will see how all of these big wigs have massive shares in all of these companies and corporations. And then you'll start putting the two together. And it's like, oh shit. And we're making them rich. And nothing will ever change because it's more of us compared to them, but we're not being smart. We're not using our power, which is our spending power. That is where we can speak the loudest. That is where companies are going to hear us. Look at all these companies that just got boycotted with Bud Light and fucking Target and shit. How quickly did they take those displays down, change their fucking products? Bud Light lost massive deals with big time singers that they were like, nope, bars, clubs, and all this. How quickly did they retract that shit and say, oh, we're sorry for going too woke. We're going to go back. Target had the whole display up. And me personally, we've talked about this on other shows about the gay pride display, put it up in the front. People started going crazy. What did Target do? Put that shit right back in the back of the store. Why? Because the power is in your spending dollar. And when they see enough people making a fuss, they're going to retract that shit.
When they see their sales are going down.
Yeah.
The minute they see their sales are going down, that's when they listen. That's right. Exactly when they start to listen, is when they see their sales going down.
Then they're like, oh shit, we better do something. Oh yeah, you better. And see, this is what, unfortunately, in our communities, people ain't ready to have this conversation because they're still spending money in these companies that they really shouldn't. If you want to talk about equality, you want to talk about racism, then you shouldn't have half of these fucking name brand shit that you wear. But in our communities, you got motherfuckers rocking all this name brand shit that's owned by racist white people. We know that they're racist white people, and you still rocking it because that's the thing to do.
Yep.
But we want to talk about that the system is incorrect. When in our neighborhoods, we know that a person will go spend that money to that white rich person to wear that name brand, but won't come shop with me on something I've created and I'm in the same neighborhood. Tell me, how is that equality? Tell me, how is that backing and supporting each other? And this is one of the biggest complaints that I have. Now, I will say, when you look at a Spanish community, it is a little different. We still do have some of the shit where people really be fighting and competing and stuff, but it's less than when you go to just the Black communities. It is a little bit worse when you look at the Black community, because Spanish people do go to Spanish stores. It's a little bit more expensive. They go to them Spanish stores.
No, it's true. That's so true. I mean, just in a culture themselves, they will all live in one house while the other ones are fixing a credit and saving their money to buy their own house. They will sacrifice 20 in one house, 5 in a room, just so that family in 2-3 years can buy their own house.
Right.
They are very supportive when it comes to that type of stuff, because at the end of the day, I mean, honestly, you cannot sit there and say you're waiting on the government, or you're waiting on the same people that we know are building these things that could care less. They don't have our best interest. We have to have that same support in our own communities. We have to look out for our own selves, because they're not looking out for us. They are not making it easy for us to get our credit up, or for us to be able to buy that home. We have to take it in our own hands to do those type of things and sacrifice maybe not doing the things that we like to enjoy for a year or 2 or 3 or 4. I mean, even to the point where some people sacrifice sleeping in their car, or sleeping, at their mom, go back to their mom's house or whatever for a year or 2 so they can save their money to buy them a house. I mean, we have to take it in our own hands. We cannot wait for the government or any other race or whatever to look out for us, because they do not have the best interest for us at all.
Right. It's looking at that, and that's where it's strengthening. I always say you have to start in your community, on your block, and strengthen it through that. And unfortunately, that's where it's rough. That's where you're going to get the most pushback. That's where there's the most like selfishness, like individualism.
Yes, exactly. Like, your own family member won't let you stay in a house. Because if you was to say, can I come stay with you for a year or 2 while I fix my credit so I can buy this home or save this money, they will find every excuse in the book for you not to. You know what I mean? Just for the simple fact that it's sad, but it comes from our own family, our own community, that does kick us when we're down. That no one's trying to uplift anyone, even to the point where, if you notice, because I have experienced this, you can have your supposedly circle and someone gets news of a job, and they would keep it to themselves. They wouldn't even tell you, knowing that maybe someone in your family is unemployed, or even if you're unemployed, they won't tell you that this person is hiring, but they'll post it, they'll talk about it, they'll show themselves at work, but not once would they say, guess what, they are hiring still, or let me know, I can tell my boss, or this, that, and the third. They don't do that in our communities, and it's sad.
Right. And I will say, I've seen both good and bad on that, where I've seen where some family have, and they fuck it up, don't come to work, and I know I used to be the one, like, don't have me speaking for you, and your ass don't show up. Like, I will never do it again. If you got me, like, putting in a good word for you, you better make sure your ass show up and follow up, because don't have me telling them.
But then it goes back to that also, you kind of know who's who, your family members, your friends, you kind of know who's going to fuck up and who going, you know what I mean? Because I've been there, done that too. I've done let family members stay with me and tell them, I'm not charging you. I don't give me no money. I just want you to save your money. You can stay for a year. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to save your money, so at the end of the year, you have enough for you to get your own place. And came that end of the year, they had nothing. They were partying, drinking, smoking,
Mm.
you know, just turning up for that whole year. And I let it be. Didn't ask for no money. Didn't came that year. I said, "Do you have your money for you to move out? Your first month, first." They didn't have shit. Well, you got to go because I told you a year, and I didn't charge you nothing. Because if that was the case, you could have been giving me some money.
Right. I think that people have to realize that too, though. It's like just because someone gives you, you know, that in, don't take advantage of it. And if you do, that's on you. It ain't got shit to do with nobody else.
Exactly. Yeah. Come exactly. And that was my thing. Like my husband used to say it all the time. Like, look, he got paid and he just turning up, make sure he had his weed, his beer, whatever, hanging out. And a whole year we let him rock. And came when that year, we said, "You got your money so you can move out?" He ain't have shit. Well, you not staying here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we did our part. You wanted to come out here. You wanted to change. You wanted the opportunity. We gave you that. You chose to fuck that up. That's on you.
Right. I think that's the bigger problem. It's the people that do have people, they don't take advantage of it and don't utilize it. And that's the broken families. That's the broken connections. That's the broken community that needs to be fixed, because there's a lot of lazy ass people. And we know that the system has broken down the communities. The system has broken down the communities to have such laziness. You have people that would rather get unemployment than fucking work. And that is like, wait, what? You'd rather try to get a little ass unemployment check versus take your ass to work every day?
Exactly.
It's like, somebody explain this shit to me. And it's like somewhere we forgot that working is not a bad thing. You know?
Exactly. You know,
how is it a curse?
You know, you're getting paid. Like at the end of the day, even with that unemployment, government, whatever, if today or tomorrow they send you a letter and be like, "Oh, we cutting you off," there ain't nothing you could do about it. But you know, if you went to work, them 2 weeks, you know you getting your paycheck because they are gonna pay you.
Right. So I just like, yes, it's a lot that needs to be done. That grassroots is everything. Starting from the communities. That's where people really need to start, because it's a lot, y'all.
They're protected by these what are called civil service protections, which means even the president, technically, under many people's beliefs, can't fire them. That's the permanent state, what many in the right will call the deep state. I think that's a problem. I think that falls short of our ideals. I think the same FBI that threatened Martin Luther King with suicide on the back of incorrectly collected tapes is now committing, I would say, hypocrisy and corrupt actions against people of a different political persuasion that the FBI doesn't like today. I just think it's a formula for corruption when you have unelected bureaucrats that are actually setting policy. But that's a detail compared to my point, which is we need to revive the ideals that the nation was actually founded on and do a better job of aspiring to them.
And we have Teslin Figueroa. I'm sure Teslin has some questions. Tez, you good?
Yes, I do. So I've heard a lot of, what you think and your vision, and I'm a very practical person, and I want to kind of, opposed to talking about your opponents, let's talk about you for a moment, and let's actually talk about your policy. Explain to me your position on this civic duty voting.
Sure. So my position is, I think that every kid who graduates from high school should know the minimums about the country that we require an immigrant to know about the country in order to become a citizen. So there's a test. My mom had to pass it. Every immigrant has to pass it to this country that asks you some basic questions. What are the 3 branches of government? What branch of government does the U.S. president lead? Some basic questions about what is the Bill of Rights. It's like a multiple choice exam, or some of them you write in. I think that if we're going to ask immigrants to pass that test, as we should, I think every 18-year-old who graduates from high school should have to pass that as well, because young people, it goes back to that issue of pride. You don't value a country that you don't know something about. You don't value something you inherit. You value something you have a stake in creating, in building, or knowing something about. So how do we think big about this? Well, young people, as I told you, most of them, very few of them vote as it stands today. Super small numbers. And apparently 60% of them say they would rather give up their right to vote than give up TikTok. Well, I say, all right, let's take that to the next level. How about we do something that raises the voting age from 18 to 25, but you still get to vote at 18 if you just pass that same civics test that an immigrant has to pass in order to vote. And tests aren't for everybody, so be it. Then you at least serve in the military or a first responder role for 6 months. That's my civic duty voting proposal. And the reason is, I'll actually make a prediction. I think youth voting in this country will skyrocket. From a very low level right now, it will skyrocket because you value something you actually have to earn. And I think that this is not a left-wing or right-wing point. We all have duties as citizens, right? We aspire to free market capitalism, right? Materialist advance. And that's the life I've lived as well, by the way. My parents came to this country with not a lot of money. I've lived the American dream. I've made a lot of money by building businesses. That's one side of what it means to be an American. But part of it is we also have duties to this country. And I think the more we wake that up, actually, the voting age only became 18 in 1971 in the context of the Vietnam draft. So I just think reviving those ideas is going to be good for us.
So let's prove your point. Nick, our camera guy, do you know the 3 branches of the federal government?
Over 24, so it don't matter.
But I'm just saying, but nobody knows there are 24. Red, do you know the 3 branches?
Executive.
Well, I got a test. I would like to see if you're willing to pass, because I believe in, just as you believe in civic engagement, I believe in changing the ideas of what political opponents look like, what they should look like, our political candidates. Are you willing to take a test with me quickly? Because I just have a couple of questions for you.
I will. Absolutely. And the way this is opening up, I have a feeling I'm about to fail it, but that's good. Let's do it.
That's right. Yeah. Just for clarity, I am an independent. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. Cool. I think that's important for the premise of the argument, because I know you did a lot of debating at Harvard. I also want to make it clear these are the same questions that I asked liberal Democrat Marianne Williamson. So I want to make sure that we put that out there as well, just to kind of set the foundation.
I'm open to being humbled. Let's do this.
Okay, great. Let's go. So you mentioned, the pride of being an American and how important it is to have pride in this country. I'm also a veteran, by the way, for the United States Air Force. So when is it that you voted for the first time?
I voted in 2020.
Okay, so you're how old again?
I'm 37 years old.
So for how many years you sat around and did not get involved at all in any civic engagement? Is that my understanding?
A long time is the answer. And actually, that's what I wrote this book about. I'm not holding myself out as some sort of model. I'm actually offering myself as a self-reflection of my journey as a citizen to whom this country has given much, right? As an adult, when you have kids, it changes your perspectives. I'm very honest about that. Absolutely.
Okay, no problem. So let's go deeper into the self-reflection. So you've sat around for, and sir, I'm being as respectful as I possibly can. Please don't take anything hard.
But is she?
You know what is so funny? Because whenever people say that, they know exactly what they're doing. You know, when someone tells you, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but no, they are, because they're about to say something disrespectful. You know what I mean? When people say things like that, because they know they know what they're doing.
You ain't gotta warn me. I already know how you coming. Your whole energy came in like I'm about to destroy you. And that's what I was saying. Like, all of them are very standoffish. This is a guest on your show. Why are y'all trying to rip this motherfucker apart to prove a point on
But
what?
You know what? He's doing exactly what he's supposed to. He's taking accountability for everything that he's saying. He did not make an excuse for why he didn't vote for all those years. He didn't say nothing. He said, yeah, I want to be the example. I want you to not be like me. You know what I mean? Right. Like, and I mean, what better way than to use an example? You don't want someone to be 30-something years old, never voted until they hit their 30s or something like that. I mean, so where she thought she was eating, she really didn't eat.
Right. It's like, I did not vote until I got into, I think I was 30 when the first time I voted, because I had no interest in it. Just like he's saying, young people don't have no interest. I had no interest in that. I didn't give a shit. I didn't think I needed to give a shit. Didn't give a shit anything about politics. It was not until I got older that I started saying, like, maybe I need to get involved. Like, maybe I need to, and my first time voting was Obama. That was the first time I voted, was when Obama came into office. But I think it's just kind of like, you already coming for him, and he's being open. He's not lying. And I was like, why do we have to make it like people in office have to be perfect? Like, you can't have learned your lessons through experience and then get in office and be like, man, I've been here, I've done that. Now I'm trying to show others what not to do. Like, why is that such a crime?
And I think
right?
that's the problem. I think I agree with him to me with change. I think that's the problem. A lot of the politicians, they tell us what they want, what they know we want to hear. And that's what they're doing. They'll tell us all the things that they think we want to hear. And then when it's time for them to deliver, they don't deliver, because honestly, that didn't come from what they really truly was going to do. They just know, I need to say this to get these votes. You know what I mean? To me, it sounds like he's not trying to tell you what you want to hear. He's telling the truth. He's telling facts, because he could, like I said, he could have made an excuse of why he didn't vote all them years. He didn't. He took accountability. And I mean, even in that change, like you said earlier, I mean, at this point, to me, let's go another way, because the way we've been going ain't working for us.
Nope. I like how she's like, and I'm a veteran. I'm like, oh, here we go. You look, if y'all don't know nothing, you could hear the tone of voice when somebody's coming at you. She's not coming at somebody who's just interviewing a candidate to president. You're coming with a bias and an agenda towards your guests because you want to knock him down. If y'all heard what she said, the test that she had was to break him down. She said it in so many words. If you were paying attention, y'all heard that she said it in so many words that she was about to cut him down in this test. And I just think that's shitty. Someone, I'm used to doing interviews and stuff. I feel like that is shitty, because I would never do somebody like that. If I'm bringing somebody in, I guess, even if we don't agree, we're going to agree to disagree.
Exactly.
But I'm not going to disrespect
the
you.
fact that he even agreed to come on the show. There's some politicians who are they pick and choose where they're going because of those type of things. Like, I know if I go to this show, they're going to be on my side. They're not going to come at. He took the gamble of saying, I'll come on your show. You know what I mean? So just the fact that he chose to come on, that should have been enough. And as far as the whole veteran thing, I mean, let's just be honest. And I have seen this. I have, my brother he done fought in the war. He was in the army. I have friends who's been in the army. When people sign up to go into the army, the Navy, whatever it is, it's not because they want to. It is that financial stability that they're looking for. If the Army, the Navy, whatever, did not offer that financial money, no one will not sign up for that shit. No one is saying, oh, I want to go and be in the army just because I love my country. No. I have friends who did this. Straight out of high school, they went into the army. Why? Because they were sleeping in the kitchen in their mother's house. You know what I mean? A lot of it is because they wanted to get out the projects.
You get room and board. You get health care. You get military discounts. Free college.
So that if they took all that away, a lot of people will not be entering the army. So when people quick to be like, oh, I'm a veteran. Okay. And granted, I don't know her story. I don't know where she comes from. I don't know her situation or why she got in. But if you do the research and you actually ask these people, the same situation is kind of the same. They're coming from, it's either one or two things. They're coming from a situation where they're trying to change their financial situation, or it's their father was in the army, their uncle, so they're trying to keep that tradition, and and they enter those things to keep this tradition up. But it ain't just because, oh, I'm proud of my country and I'm gonna go fight for this country. Let's just keep it honest, like.
You don't even have to be. And you don't even have to be. So take it off and let's go.
So you've been sitting around in the country that my ancestors built for about 20 years. Your parents came over as immigrants, brought you over. You made millions, according to your resume, off of this country, and you have absolutely not been involved in civics. One, not voting, and two, let me just ask, because I know you mentioned earlier you don't want to sit around at the debate and talk about accomplishments. Let's make the accomplishments pretty simple. In high school, were you ever a class president or take any leadership role? Because your opponent did, Chris Christie. He was the class president. So have you ever taken any leadership at all on anything, or just?
Can I just correct a couple factual things that are kind of important? My parents didn't bring me over to the country. I was born in this country, and I'm proud of that.
No, I know you were born here in Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio.
You mentioned my parents.
I'm saying your parents were immigrants. My apologies.
And that's all right. You said your parents brought you over to this country. I thought I
my
would
apologies.
set that record straight.
I mean, they were immigrants, but let's not go down the water hole.
No, we're not going to water. I just want to correct a couple facts. And then the other thing is,
you were born here in Ohio.
I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. That's right.
Right. So you've been here your entire life. So the question is, did you take any leadership role in middle school, high school, class president?
I did.
I know you played tennis. What is it? Explain it to us.
Student council. But I think that this is I have held leadership roles over my life, but those don't qualify me to do what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it kind of does. Okay, it kind of does. Well, I'm giving the test. I'm the test administrator.
All right, there you go.
So it kind of does, because when you go from saying I want to go to the highest office,
and I'll tell you, I've led companies as well. Is the other leader?
Right,
the main leadership role I've played is and I want to talk about one early part of your premise that I also want to say, bring it to the country point. The other point, you use the word sitting around. I'm not somebody who's saying I want the next generation, my kids' generation, to have more civic duties when they graduate from high school and college than I did when I did. That being said, I wasn't sitting around. I've developed medicines, 5 of which are FDA-approved products today, one of which is a life-saving therapy in kids, 20 of whom die by the age of 3 if they're not treated, 70% of whom now live lives of a normal duration. Another one for prostate cancer. So I don't apologize for making contributions. But
well, I don't want you to filibuster that because that's not the question that I asked. And I don't consider, as a veteran, I'm talking about service. I'm not talking about what you did for profit. I'm not talking about what you paid people to do with your company. I'm not talking about
I've not served the country
because that means nothing to me.
You do
what I'm
realize
talking,
she hasn't been able to ask a question. She's been trying to ask a question, and you've been talking over.
I'm all ears.
We gave you the platform to let you say.
I'm all ears.
I'm all ears. No, I was just correcting a couple facts.
She hasn't had a chance to
that's
ask
all.
a question yet. Every time she tries to ask a question, you've been cutting her off. Good.
I'm all ears.
Right. So your question. So my question again is: you're trying to your goal is to raise the standard, and you're saying you want people to believe in country, and you want people to
see. She going on and on and on. So is she really asking a question and pausing to let him answer, or you just keep saying the same shit?
And my thing is this: how do you as a person want someone to acknowledge your accomplishments when you're trying to discredit his accomplishments?
Right.
Because his accomplishments isn't serving in the military,
right,
like you did. So it don't matter that he made these, and even that she kind of like, oh, you paid someone to make, so it's like, but then and he's not coming at her in any kind of disrespectful way. He's keeping his cool. He's not letting her get to him because he sees what she's doing. And honestly, that's what he needs to do. Because, and let's just be honest, you serving in the military does not make you qualify, or being a student body in high school, because I mean, Trump has been president. And I mean, he's a business person.
Right.
His leadership came from business stuff.
Running businesses.
So exactly. So how does him not taking leadership in anything?
I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck what you did in your high school president council, what you did. What are you going to do for us now?
Exactly.
Like, I don't know what that fucking matters. And me, if I was him, I would be correcting her, because your accomplishments are big in what you do in your life. Yeah, maybe I'm not the scientist that took the cells and that, but my brain came up with this shit so that they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Or even the fact that he did, even if he did pay somebody to do it, he obviously earned the money to have that money to do that. You know what I mean? And that's my thing. Like, people are quick to try to make your shit seem like it's nothing, but look at my shit. Okay, you fought for a country.
Okay.
That we all know could care motherfucking less about you.
Right.
You know what I mean? You did all that. Okay, kudos. And people say it all the time. Thank you for your services. Thank you. But at the end of the day, how are you gonna just like be like, oh well, he's actually saving lives.
Right. Right.
Where you were probably out there ending lives. So let's not go there. You know what I mean?
It was disrespectful.
For a battle, let's just, because we could get deeper, for a fight that isn't your motherfucking fight.
Right.
So let's just keep it real. You know what I mean? Like and like I said, I have many people who are in the Army currently. And I salute them. Thank you for your service. But let's just be honest. Don't take away from somebody else because they didn't serve in the Army or wherever they didn't serve the way you did. You know what I mean? Because again, like I said, you fought a fight that had nothing to fucking do with you. You fought a fight of two people who could not agree on something and they let their little shit get in, you know what I mean? And put innocent people out there. So let's not go there. But yeah, she's being very nasty. And then that's another thing, co-signing instead of them as men and co-hosts and saying, you know what I mean? No, they co-signing what she's doing.
Right. Be like, man, can we be respectful with the guests? Because I would look at that as someone looking at would like, why would I even want to come to your office after watching some? Is that how you do the guests that come on that maybe you don't agree with? You just tear them down and talk shit.
Exactly.
Because even when she was like, you came, your parents brought you over here. And he was like, man, let me correct that.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not an immigrant. My parents might be immigrants, but I was born here. I'm a fucking American. Because that shit, like my ancestors built this country.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
All right, we know the Indians had this shit before any of us people came over here.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like I said, that's the bad part about our community. We quick to co-sign some shit. They both sitting there and they cannot let her know, like you said, and then they wonder why certain people don't want to come on these shows. They like, no, I will not go on the show. This is and will think that the show is beneath them because of these type of things. You know what I mean? And they wonder why. So
how
the fact that
how many more presidents are gonna come?
He agreed to come. Respect, like you said, respect your guest. You ain't gotta agree with him, but respect him. That's like with Trump. There's some things I like Trump about, and there's some things I just can't fuck with. But if he was ever in a situation where we get a chance to interview him, I'm gonna respect him the same way I respect anybody else.
Right. I just that was cringe. That was very cringe for me because you just don't do that. There's a way to ask questions, to have a conversation. Even if you don't agree, you can have a conversation. But when you start to attack your guests to make them look less than because you're trying to prove a point, you brought up another candidate that probably you're backing. So now you're over here trying to make him look bad.
Exactly.
I don't give a fuck about the person that you said about how they served in high school, about on fucking council. There's a lot of politicians that were a lot of people in fucking high school or whatever
and had no clue how to run a country.
Right. It still failed. It still were shitty as hell. It still were.
And I mean, let's just be honest. I'm being honest. If you were in high school and honestly, if you sold drugs or you even smoked crack in high school, what better person will know how to help these addicts or help, than the person who been there, done that? I mean, let's just be honest. A person could not come to me and tell me about a situation. I will respect somebody who's been there, done that, lived it before somebody who never experienced it ever in life. I would take the advice from the person who lived it before the person who never did it.
Especially if you have, and this is what I say, where we don't allow people to change and grow because you're deeming somebody from some shit years ago and then you're downing them. And just like you said, you have kids, you change your mind, you get older, you grow up, you mature, and then you look back like, damn, we got to do something about our young.
You could have been the most ratchet chick in high school. And right now, as soon as you have children, your whole outlook is different because now you're responsible for a human being. You could have not gave a fuck about life, disrespectful, whatever, in high school, and then go back. High school, that's children. These are children, and they're acting like children. So how could you even bring up what he was doing in high school? Even if he could have been a gangbanger, not in anything, but who he is today is what matters. How he's going to move forward or try to help the country. That's what matters, not who you was in high school. So she's not even asking the right questions where she thinks she's asking these questions for what?
Right. Yeah, it's really rude and just attacking, and that I don't like when we do that, when we're putting people down and then we go to the race. So you already are showing that you are prejudiced or racist underneath. You have a prejudice and racist tone, but she's a black woman, she would be the first one complaining about somebody being racist to her. But you're doing it to this Indian man that's sitting in your studio, and instead of giving him respect, you're treating him in the same way that you would be treated per you by a white person that would be looking like you ain't shit. So why are you talking? And this is the thing I have. And I don't care who watches this. Y'all can say what you want. You could drop your comments on how you feel. This is one of the biggest problems, that prejudice and that inner racism that Black people hold. And y'all have got to take a moment and see that it exists, because the whole thing, when we start blaming the whole other country, yet everybody knows, hey, I was raised in the hood, the Black hoods, okay? And it was a lot of gang on gang violence, and those were Black people killing Black people, okay?
No, but it's true. If he was white and he was talking to her the way she's talking to him, and he was dismissing the fact that she was in the army and she served and all that, it would have been a big decision. People would have been talking about it. They would have been like, oh, he's right. They would have automatically said he was racist just by the way he was talking to her, because she's talking down to him. Yeah. She's not talking to him as a human person. Right. Regardless to if she doesn't agree with him or not, he's still human. And that's the problem with our community. You want respect, you have to give respect. And she's not respecting him. They're not respecting him. They're not letting him talk about, like, even having to correct her. She was still trying to talk over him while he's correcting her about that, because he's not an immigrant. His parents is, which makes a big difference. He was born here. Right. He experienced stuff that his parents never would have experienced.
Right. And he went to fucking Harvard and Yale. And you could say whatever, but his parents bust their ass so this boy could go to a decent school. And this is where my problem goes. Your parents were the one who decided to raise you in whatever fucking city or state, despite what they're saying, despite what excuses you have. I don't care about that, because I know that for a fact, if you want to change, you can get the fuck out of there. You could change. You could go somewhere else. You could do something to change. So you could sit there and say that you had to grow up wherever and your whole line is broke and poor, and that's just how it's been. But then again, when does it change? So his parents came over here with nothing, built something, and actually made sure that his ass attended school and did well.
They did exactly what they came here to do, to make sure that their child will have the opportunities that he wouldn't have had in their country. And that's what a lot of foreigners do. They come here to make a better life for their children, because they don't want their children to grow up the way they did. That's why they come here, for these opportunities.
Right. You know the grades that you have to get into Harvard. You know the money that it costs.
They look at preschool. What preschool you went to? What elementary school you went to?
That part.
But she worrying about if he was student body in high school.
It's like, I think this is where you got to stop making it to where people have to be perfect. And you're making it seem like being a president is the top tier of the nation of jobs. But in actuality, the president don't run shit. So even if this man hasn't served on the House or the Senate or the mayor or any of that, neither did Trump. When was Trump a fucking mayor, or when was Trump a fucking senator?
Many presidents were not fit to run a country.
Right.
Many presidents failed as running this country. Right. So regardless and they could have been student body and or whatever, doesn't mean that they're gonna be successful, because again, what you did in high school don't have shit to do with your outlook about now. That's just like even with some, racist people growing up in a racist household. That doesn't mean that them as an adult become are racist. They may go the other way and be like, I grew up in this shit. I know this shit is wrong. And, see stuff for their own, eyes and decide to do opposite. So you can't even say that, because you as a child, you had to live there. You had to see it. You had to, you were a kid. But as an adult, you said, you know what, I'm out. I don't agree with this. Or even to this day, when people are out and they say the N-word and there's white people coming in and saying, oh no, to their own friends, their own
Right.
family members, their own, standing up and doing that, so you can't, like, that was dumb to me, like the whole what he did in high school. He's a kid, and even if he did do some fucked up shit in high school, it was high school. But he didn't. He said he did, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Have civic engagement. And sir, I just find it very telling that you haven't had any civic engagement at all and haven't been at all. And when I say sit around, I don't mean you haven't done anything. I'm talking about in regards to service, because one thing about political office, the same way that you want to change how people look at politics and look at this country, I want to change how people look at politicians. And when I see that someone hasn't did anything at all to be of service to mankind, to take a leadership role. It's not good enough to just be on city student council. Were you a leader? All of that applies. Have you been able to get anybody in the room at any time, from a high school gymnasium to Ohio, Republican leadership there to now? Have you been able to get anybody in a room to believe in this vision? I don't agree with a lot of your vision statement, but I do know you've been going around having these discussions and getting everybody emotionally worked up to talk about vision and debate. But I want to get to the practical. You're trying to go from preschool to president of the United States. You're skipping over city council, county council, mayor, governor. You want to go straight to the top. So my question is this a PR? Is this for the PR, the perception of reality? Or can you point to any leadership where you've been able to get people to believe in what you're talking about that they're not paid to do on any of these vision statements that you have? If not, then to me, it's a moot point, because you're holding a standard that you haven't met yourself.
So if you're only going to count government service, you're absolutely
no, not government
right.
service.
Okay.
Student council in the 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th. Were you a leader? Did you do anything to rally anybody? Did you fight for better lunch? I did in the 6th grade with Miss Harris. I'm not talking about government. I can go all the way back from the 5th grade every year, sir, because people who are in service to this country, if you're going to go around saying you want people to believe in this country that I signed up to die for, then I want to make sure that you're holding that same standard. So not government, not political. Let's not get it confused. I'm saying, have you did anything of service that we can point to say he is a good leader, like Chris? And I'm not even a fan of Chris Christie, but he was the student council president in high school. So have you done anything of service besides yourself that has not benefited yourself? It's just a simple question.
So the acts of service that I have performed are small, so small that I don't even want to talk about them to boast. But yes, have I volunteered for this country? Yes, I have. I've always been interested in healthcare.
It's okay to talk about the small things.
These are small things, right? But thank you.
Let's just mention
Bethesda North Hospital.
So it's really a no?
No, it's not a no. It's just something I don't like boasting about. I
volunteered.
We're
not boasting. It's an interview. You're boasting on your vision and everything else.
I think
you boasted on the millions of dollars that you made. So let's just throw it out. So in 6th grade, I'll give you an example. I'll help you out. In 6th grade.
Oh my God, does she shut up so he can fucking?
She's looking for validation because it's.
All right, you guys, thank you for watching. Once again, we will see you on the next one. This is Real Talk Corner. I'm your host, Ariana, the Quantum Healer, and my co-host, Sabrina Williams, in the building. You guys stay safe. Drop us a comment because we want to know what the fuck you think about this ridiculousness shit that we were watching today. Bye.